Some stories don't die. They just go quiet, buried beneath official reports and sealed files, until something slips out. In Black Pines, Oregon, along a winding forest road where the pines stretch tall enough to blot out the sky, one question still chills the air a decade later. What happened to Officer Raymond Holt? On October 18, 2012, this seasoned night patrol officer vanished without a trace while responding to a routine call about a missing child. His last radio message was garbled and tense. 3 years later, investigators recovered his body cam deep in the woods. What they saw on that footage, a motionless figure, a raised weapon, and then sudden silence, would shake them to their core. This isn't just another cold case. It's a story about the wilderness watching back, about something that waits beyond the tree line, and a discovery so precise and unsettling it was never meant to be found. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if you're ready to uncover what really happened that night. Holt had been responding to a call about a missing child. Jason McConnell, 8 years old, last seen in his pajamas, wandering barefoot down Route 6 toward the forest. The mother said she'd woken to find the front door wide open and Jason's stuffed rabbit lying on the porch. By the time Officer Holt arrived at the scene, the sky had turned to pitch. The rain, thick and cold, came down in uneven bursts. His patrol car's wipers screeched every time they passed over the windshield. Bodycam footage later recovered showed him stepping out of the car, flashlight drawn. "Dispatch, I'm on foot, approaching southeast perimeter of Black Pines." His voice sounded steady, but there was a slight tremble in his breath. The camera lens caught soaked pine needles, rustling leaves, and the narrow trail ahead, barely visible past the tall underbrush. The beam of his flashlight quivered slightly. At 2:57 a.m., the footage showed Holt pausing. He turned abruptly, aiming his light deeper into the woods. Something had moved. At 2:58 a.m., he unholstered his sidearm. A subtle metallic click followed. He raised it slowly, the barrel aligned with the dark shape ahead, about 20 feet into the trees, just beyond the reach of the flashlight. The figure stood motionless. It was humanoid, tall, thin, featureless in the darkness. The camera's autofocus struggled to define it. There were no visible eyes, mouth, or clothing. Just a silhouette, perfectly still among the trees. "Black Pines, I've got eyes on something. It's not the kid." A pause. "I'm drawing weapon." No response from dispatch. The figure remained still. Rain lashed against the lens. At 2:59 a.m., Holt's hand began to shake. He took a step back. "This is Officer Holt. I'm requesting immediate backup at mile marker 212. Possible suspect?" Static. Then something else, brief and strange. A high-frequency distortion like feedback, but layered with whispers, clicks, something foreign. He repeated his request. No answer. Then the figure moved. Barely. Its head, if it had a head, tilted just a fraction to the left. Holt froze. "Put your hands where I can see them," he shouted, pointing the gun directly at the figure. No movement. "I said hands up." At 3 a.m., the camera caught a blur. The figure darted sideways, unnaturally fast, out of frame. Holt's breath quickened. "Where did you—" He swung the flashlight, following it. Then the footage dropped. Not cut, just dropped, like something pulled the body cam sideways. The lens now showed only forest floor. Wet earth, fallen leaves, and the edge of Holt's boot. And then nothing. Static filled the final 10 seconds of the footage. Wind. A single breath. Then, dead air. At 4:12 a.m., a trucker spotted Holt's car parked neatly on the shoulder of Route 6. The engine was off. Doors locked. Headlights off. Radio silent. When state police arrived, they opened the vehicle and found the interior clean. No blood. No signs of struggle. But in the front passenger seat, Arranged with surgical precision were 32 human teeth. They formed a perfect circle, every molar and incisor cleaned and aligned like tiny ivory soldiers, facing inward. None of them belonged to Officer Holt. At first glance, Officer Holt's car didn't look like a crime scene. It sat clean and dry on the shoulder of Route 6, just beyond the faded sign that marked the southern boundary of Black Pines National Forest. Windows intact, tires aligned, no broken glass, no blood. But the moment investigators opened the passenger side door, the temperature seemed to drop. The teeth were the first thing they saw. Arranged in a perfect circle, each one carefully positioned on the dark fabric of the seat. 32 adult human teeth, free of blood, scrubbed clean, the enamel catching the dawn light in a way that felt almost deliberate. No roots, no jaws, just the crowns, like they'd been plucked one by one and placed with ceremonial intent. One of the officers vomited. Another immediately pulled out their phone and called for a forensic team. By 9 a.m., the area was cordoned off. State troopers, crime scene techs, and a local sheriff's deputy, a wiry man named Ellis Monroe, arrived on scene. Holt's car was towed to a forensic lab in Portland. The surrounding woods were combed by search dogs. Nothing. Not a footprint. Not a drag mark. Not even tire tracks apart from Holt's. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, but the soil was damp enough that anything human should have left a trace. But the forest floor was clean. The search for Holt officially launched that morning. Drones were deployed. Helicopters scanned the canopy. Volunteer crews, including firefighters, locals, and out-of-county deputies, canvassed the region in expanding rings. They found Jason McConnell's stuffed rabbit, sodden, half-buried in pine needles, about 200 yards from the road. But there were no signs of the boy himself. No clothing, no footprints, no DNA. And then there were the teeth. The lab ran full forensic analysis. None of the teeth belonged to Holt. In fact, none were his at all. They belonged to different people. A mix of male and female, aged between 20 and 60, with various dental histories. Fillings, 1 crown, 2 cracked molars. But the oddest part? There was no tissue residue. The roots had been completely removed in a way that suggested medical precision. But no local dentist had any matching patient records. After 6 days, the search was scaled back. A press conference was held where authorities said they were pursuing multiple leads but had no evidence of foul play. Privately, investigators were already talking about the legend. The Loopers. It was a name that appeared in local forums and old community newsletters, whispers passed down by hunters and rangers for decades. It referred to the phenomenon of people getting looped in Black Pines, walking into the woods and never coming out. Not in the usual way. Some never returned. Others came back days later, disoriented, unaware that time had passed. One man in 1983 was found barefoot, repeating the phrase, "It followed me in reverse," over and over. Locals said it was the forest, that it kept what it wanted. Sheriff Monroe, though, had his own theory. He pulled Detective Alana Reyes aside the evening after the Bodycam was recovered. They were drinking bad coffee from paper cups, standing in front of the evidence board. "You ever hear about 1979? The logging team that went missing?" Monroe asked, eyes fixed on the pinned map. Reyes shook her head. "Same area. They were clearing land west of mile marker 2 and 12. 7 men. Never came home. The company said it was a rock slide. My dad was a deputy back then. Said there was no slide. Said they found one of the helmets, placed on a stump. Clean, like someone left it there." Reyes looked at the teeth photos again. "You think it's connected?" Monroe sipped his coffee. "I think there's things in that forest that don't like being disturbed." The case went cold within 6 months. With no body, no signs of struggle, and no further evidence, Holt was declared missing, presumed dead. His file was quietly moved into the unsolved cabinet of the Oregon State Police Archives. But something kept bothering Reyes. She'd seen the dash cam footage herself, and what struck her wasn't the moment the camera went black, but what came just before. Holt was holding his gun steady, aimed at a figure, a tall, motionless figure. The infrared had blurred it badly, but something about its proportions looked wrong, too symmetrical, too still. She played the clip frame by frame, and on one frame, barely lit, there seemed to be something behind the figure. A second shape, smaller, lower to the ground, possibly a child. But when she asked for a copy of the footage a week later, she was told it had been pulled for federal review. She never saw it again. Jason McConnell vanished from his own front yard just after 2 a.m., wearing Spider-Man pajamas and no shoes. His mother, Dana McConnell, had put him to bed at 9:15 the night before. She checked on him twice, once at 11, again at 1:30 a.m. Both times, he'd been sound asleep. At 2:11 a.m., she jolted awake. No sound, no dream, just a sudden sense that something was wrong. The front door was wide open. Jason's favorite stuffed rabbit, Mr. Tippy, was lying face down on the welcome mat, soaked from rain. The porch light was still on. There were no footprints in the yard, just a long stretch of wet grass that led to the edge of the trees. "I thought maybe he was sleepwalking," she said in a recorded interview later. "He's never done it before, but how else could he get out?" But it wasn't just Jason's disappearance that made the neighbors nervous. It was what came next. 3 doors down, a man named Everett James told deputies he'd seen something around 2 a.m. "Looked like a tall person walking with the boy," he said. "Not carrying him, just holding his hand, like they were out for a stroll." "What did the person look like?" the deputy asked. "Didn't see their face. They were wearing something dark. But the weird part?" Everett hesitated. "It looked like they weren't casting a shadow. Streetlight was right above them. The kid cast a shadow. The tall one didn't. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints. Jason's room was untouched. His shoes were still under the bed, and his school backpack sat by the door with his lunch packed inside, a turkey sandwich and apple slices." The community reacted fast. Flyers, fundraisers, search parties. Local news anchors stood in front of the woods every night, urging the public to stay hopeful. Candlelight vigils, Facebook pages, hundreds of comments from strangers offering prayers, theories, dreams they swore were visions. But nothing helped. 3 days after Jason's disappearance, a teenager named Lauren P. posted a video to social media claiming she'd seen the missing boy near the south edge of Black Pines late at night. The clip went viral, shaky footage of trees, the sound of wind, and, at the 10-second mark, what looked like a child-shaped silhouette in the distance, standing still between the trees. Police dismissed it as a hoax. But that night, another call came in. A couple camping about 4 miles east of where Holt's patrol car was found reported hearing a child laughing. Not playful laughter, but something rhythmic, deliberate. "Almost like it was looping," the woman told the dispatcher. "Same sound, over and over. It didn't feel right." The recording of that 911 call was never released to the public, but those who heard it said it lasted 48 seconds before cutting to silence. After a week with no progress, the FBI stepped in. They deployed search teams with infrared, dogs, helicopters, the works. They found nothing, except for the rabbit. Mr. Tippy was discovered again. It was the same stuffed toy. Identical, down to the stitched left eye and bite-marked ear, but this time it turned up near a creek bed inside Black Pines, several miles from the McConnell residence. The odd part? It was dry, bone dry, despite the fact it had rained heavily the night before. Dana McConnell confirmed it was Jason's. That's his. There's a tear under the chin where he tried to hide candy one time. Her hand shook when she held it. It wasn't there before. I swear. I've been to that creek 5 times with the search team. Reyes, now working the case full-time, began mapping sightings and strange reports. She noticed something chilling. The area where Jason vanished was the same stretch where Officer Holt had disappeared, where the patrol car was found, where the teeth were arranged. It formed a triangle, with the old logging road at the center, a road that had been closed for years, blocked by downed trees and erosion. But Reyes noticed a detail in satellite imagery. New tire tracks. Faint, recent, heading directly into the woods. She requested backup. Drones, trail cams. Her request was denied. That night, she sat alone in her car outside the McConnell house, staring at the edge of the trees. Rain tapped against the windshield like fingers. And just before midnight, she thought she saw movement. Something tall, just beyond the first row of pines. It didn't move like a person. It moved like something waiting. Detective Alana Reyes didn't sleep that night. She sat in her car until sunrise, watching the forest edge in silence, headlights off, recording every shift in the trees on her phone. Nothing returned on the video, but she was certain something had been there, watching, waiting. The next morning, she requested access to historical case files from the Black Pines district. Specifically, missing persons within a 20-mile radius between 1990 and 2012. It took 2 weeks, and when the records came in, they were incomplete. Pages missing, names redacted, photos blurred like photocopies of photocopies. Still, the pattern was unmistakable. 3 cases, all unsolved. All involved officers responding to strange disturbances near the forest perimeter. And in each case, there was a child. 1994, Officer Jeremy Kearns responded to a call about a boy seen walking into the woods barefoot. Never returned. Car found parked by the old maintenance road, engine off. Inside, a pile of acorns arranged in a spiral. 2001, Deputy Louise Tran called in a possible domestic disturbance in a cabin near the southern ridge. Last radio transmission. Something's not right here. I think it's a child. Then static. Her service weapon was recovered 3 days later, placed carefully on a tree stump. Safety on. 2005, Officer Julian Ames logged a wellness check on a missing girl, 11 years old, last seen near the Hollow Creek trailhead before the town renamed it. His Bodycam footage, what little was left of it, showed fog and faint giggling. No sign of the girl. No sign of Ames. Ever. None of these cases had ever gone public. Reyes contacted Ellis Monroe again. The retired sheriff wasn't surprised. "They shut them all down," he said, voice gravel-thick from too many late-night whiskeys. "Too strange, too open-ended. Got told to call it wilderness exposure or misadventure. But everyone local knows. It's the trees. Always the damn trees." "What do you mean?" Reyes asked. "I mean they move." He wasn't being metaphorical. "There's places out there," he continued, "that shift. You go in one way, come out the wrong direction. GPS gets scrambled, radios cut out. Old Ranger told me once he found a path that wasn't there the day before. Looked like it had been carved in for weeks. Trees don't grow the same out there. Things echo different." She asked if he'd ever seen anything like Holt's case. The teeth. Monroe looked down at his hands. "Not teeth," he said, "but bones, arranged, little ones, bird skulls, mouse jaws, always in circles, always fresh, like offerings." It didn't make sense, none of it did. But then Reyes received an anonymous package at her office. No return address, no note. Inside, a cassette tape and a crumpled paper map of Black Pines, marked with a single red X near the old maintenance road. She borrowed an old recorder from evidence and played the tape. Static. Then, a voice. A man, whispering in shallow breaths. They follow sound. They wait near openings. You'll hear it before you see it. A child laughing. Don't answer it. Don't respond. Don't. The rest was unintelligible, garbled under layers of distortion. She had the audio enhanced by a lab technician. Beneath the main voice, 3 other tracks became clear. One was wind. One was rhythmic knocking. And the third, a second voice, high-pitched and soft, repeating a phrase over and over. Still hungry. Still hungry. Still hungry. Reyes took the map and drove out to the marked location the next morning. She didn't tell anyone, not even Monroe. The road was barely passable. Trees leaned overhead like teeth. The wind moved in bursts, not breezes, like breath. When she reached the X location, she found nothing at first. Just rocks, damp leaves, and broken branches. And then, a sound. Childlike laughter. But distant, filtered, like coming through water. She turned to leave. That's when she saw it. A trail cam, half buried, tied around a leaning pine. She took it. Later, back in her motel, she loaded the SD card onto her laptop. Most of the footage was animals. A raccoon. An owl. Then, at 2:13 a.m., 2 nights prior, movement. A shape. Tall. Still. Humanoid. Standing behind a tree. And in front of it, barely reaching its hip, was something smaller. It looked like Jason. It was raining when the hunter found the camera. September 6, 2015, nearly 3 years after Officer Holt had vanished. A man named Craig Dumont, 44, out checking trail markers near Split Rock Ravine, slipped on wet stone and caught himself on what he first thought was a buried pipe. It was plastic, rectangular, blackened with dirt. A Bodycam. He turned it over, saw the badge number scratched faintly on the back, letter 9437, Raymond Holt. Dumont called it in immediately. Within 24 hours, the Oregon State Police and federal agents descended on the site. The area was sealed off, the camera logged and taken to the digital forensics lab in Eugene. The footage was still intact. It contained just over an hour of usable video, a timeline that picked up roughly 15 minutes before Holt's final transmission. What it showed stunned everyone who saw it. 2:45 a.m., Holt walking along a narrow path through the trees, flashlight bouncing with each step. Rain hisses softly in the mic. He stops occasionally, scanning with the light, whispering, "Jason?" 2:48 a.m. He pauses, looks off to the left. Camera picks up a strange sound, faint metal creaking like a rusted swing in the wind. There's no playground for miles. 2:51 a.m. His radio crackles. 6. Repeat. Lost vis. The voice cuts out. Then static. Then something else. A noise like breathing. Wet. Close to the mic, but no one visible. 2:54 a.m. Camera captures a shape moving between trees. Fast. Blurred. He raises his gun. Flashlight shakes. "Show yourself." 2:57 a.m. He halts. His breath fogs in front of the lens. Unnatural, considering the temperature. Ahead, maybe 20 feet away, something stands. It's the figure. No facial features, no clothes. Just a tall, still silhouette. Smooth. Almost reflective. Holt shouts, "I said, show your hands." No movement. Then, a twitch. The figure tilts its head. 2:59 a.m. He raises his weapon. Finger on the trigger. "Back away now, this is your final." The figure darts sideways. The motion isn't human. Too fluid. Too fast. Like a frame skip. Holt spins. Camera blurs. We hear rapid breathing. Then it happens. He turns again, and directly in front of the lens, closer than before, is the figure, now just 6 feet away. It doesn't move, but something behind it does. A second figure, smaller, peeks from behind its leg. Childlike. The lens begins distorting. The edges ripple like heat waves. 3:00 a.m. Holt screams, "Stay back!" He fires one shot. The muzzle flash blinds the camera. When the frame returns, the figure is gone. His voice is panicked now. "Where the hell? No, no!" Then a sound cuts through. Laughter. High, childlike, but looping, repeating every 4 seconds. He backs up, trips, falls. The camera hits the ground. Now it's angled up, showing just trees and sky. His breathing is rapid. There's a scraping sound. Then silence. No scream, no gunfire, no final word. Just silence. What followed was 11 hours of static footage. The Bodycam remained still, but the audio kept recording. And in those 11 hours, the mic picked up things. Whispers. Footsteps around the lens. Voices, male and female. Some speaking in unknown languages. Some saying fragments like, "Don't blink." "Almost gone." "Did you hear the knock?" At hour 6, there's a sequence of knocks, exactly 32, spaced in perfect rhythm. At hour 9, the camera vibrates, slightly, as if something brushed against it. And at hour 11, just before the battery dies, a voice is heard clearly. Not Holt, not a whisper, a young boy, close to the mic. He says, "I can see you." Then, the screen goes black. When Reyes viewed the footage, she sat through it twice. After the second viewing, she left the lab and vomited in the parking lot. Within days, the camera was seized by federal agents. The official report stated it had been too damaged to yield clear evidence. No footage was ever released to the public. Reyes tried to speak out, but was issued a non-disclosure order. Her request for an independent investigation was denied, but she made a copy, stored it on a drive, hidden, offline, and one frame from the tape haunted her more than any other. It was a still, time-stamped 3:41 a.m., where the tall figure stood fully lit by the flashlight. For just a moment, the blur cleared. It wasn't wearing a face, it was wearing a mask. And behind the eye holes, there was nothing. The footage was gone, at least officially. The original drive had been taken to Quantico, cataloged and labeled under internal case reference HBP 093, Officer Disappearance. A few agents knew what it contained. Fewer were willing to speak about it. Internally, it was labeled as Unresolved Anomaly. But the copy Reyes had made, quietly, on a personal drive not connected to any department server, was still intact. And what it revealed was more than just a disappearance. It was a window into something no one could explain. She had it enhanced by a private tech she trusted, someone she'd worked with in cybercrime years before. The request was simple. Isolate all audio not matching Holt's voice or environmental sounds. The results came back a week later. 7 audio patterns stood out, none of them matching known wildlife or human-made sources. 3 sounded like voices. 2 were rhythmic. 1 resembled a mechanical glitch, except it pulsed like a heartbeat. The 7th was the most disturbing. A phrase, repeated 12 times, slow and quiet, by a voice too low for a child but too soft for an adult. "Don't let it wear you." Reyes didn't understand, until she rewatched the part of the footage where Holt disappears. Freeze frame at 3:41 a.m., just as the tall figure stands full in the beam of the flashlight. The face is blank. Skin? Cloth? It's impossible to say. But just before the blur returns, the figure lifts something, slowly, to where its mouth should be. Something black, elongated, almost like a mask. not removing it, placing it, and a second later, a blink. The screen jitters, a soft crackle of distortion. The next frame, the figure is gone, and Holt's breathing is no longer on the mic. Instead, for the first time in the entire recording, there's the unmistakable sound of someone walking toward the camera. One step, then a second, then a long pause, then the lens shifts, barely, as if nudged, then nothing. Reyes printed stills, circled audio markers, built a dossier. She sent copies to 2 trusted colleagues. Within days, her computer was seized. Her superiors called it an internal audit. Her phone was wiped. She was placed on administrative leave, pending psychological evaluation. "They think I've lost it," she wrote in a notebook. "But I haven't. I saw it. I heard it. Something put that mask on." She moved into a rental cabin 3 towns away, stayed offline, kept the drive with her at all times. And then, one morning, she woke to find something on her porch. It was a manila envelope. No note, no postage. Inside, a printed image, a still from her footage. It showed the forest. But the trees were wrong, bent inward, like ribs. And in the center of the path stood a new figure, shorter, child-sized. Its face was turned toward the camera but featureless, and around its neck, just barely visible, was Officer Holt's badge. 9437. At the same time, something else was happening. A forum post appeared on an obscure missing persons discussion board. Username, Watcher212. The post was titled, "Still Hungry, What They're Not Telling You About Black Pines." It included descriptions of the bodycam footage, the child's disappearance, even the teeth. The post was deleted within 6 hours, but not before dozens of users copied and shared it. Among the comments, one stood out: "Saw it too, 2017, elk hunting, something tall, didn't move right. My buddy heard laughing all night, told me to walk backward out of the woods, said it watches who watches." Another comment claimed to have heard Holt's voice after his disappearance, not once, but 3 times. All over shortwave radio. Always the same phrase: "Don't come looking." Reyes now sleeps during the day, keeps blackout curtains, 2 locks on every door. She hasn't spoken to the media. Her requests to reopen the investigation have been denied. But she hasn't stopped watching the footage. Because there's one more thing, a final detail. At 3:11:47 a.m., deep in the silent part of the tape, the bodycam lens is still facing upward, recording the trees, the sky, the passing clouds. And for 7 frames, something steps into view. It's not Holt. It's the tall figure, mask now off, face fully visible. Except, it's not one face. It's dozens, layered, eyes open but lifeless, mouths parted in mid-scream, as if someone had stitched them together, like it wears them. By early 2016, the official story had hardened. Officer Raymond Holt died during a nighttime search operation, likely due to environmental exposure, and was never found. The teeth? Animal remains. The footage? Corrupted. The FBI issued no further statements. The forest was reopened to the public by spring. But Reyes wasn't the only one who refused to accept the narrative. Across forums, podcasts, and encrypted chat rooms, the Black Pines vanishing became an underground legend. People dug into old forestry maps, weather data, even radio logs. Someone leaked a partial transcript of the recovered bodycam audio. Someone else created a reconstruction using AI voice generators. And then the disappearances started again. Subtle at first. March 2016, a forest ranger reported hearing a child's voice whispering from just beyond the edge of his fire tower. He went to investigate, never returned. His boots were found the next day, standing upright on the observation deck. June 2016, A family of 3 vanished while hiking near Devil's Spine Trail. The only thing found was a cell phone, face down on a mossy rock. The final image in its camera roll. Trees, blurry, and what might be the back of a child's head. By fall, 5 more people had gone missing in the Black Pines region. No bodies, no remains, but still, no media coverage, no alerts, no official connection to Holt. Then Reyes got a call. From a blocked number. A man's voice, flat and careful. They're burying it. Like the others. They'll never let it surface. "Who are you?" she asked. "I saw the other tape." Pause. It didn't stop recording, even after Holt vanished. She froze. "What do you mean?" "There's another file, never cataloged. Final runtime, 16 hours. Static." Call dropped. 2 weeks later, Reyes received another package. Unmarked envelope. Inside, a USB drive and a note. He said not to come looking. But someone always does. The footage was rough, corrupted in places. But it began seconds after Holt disappears. The camera remains lying on the forest floor. For the next 6 hours, nothing. Then movement. Shadows flicker across the trees. Quiet footsteps. Whispers in reverse. Glitches. But at hour 8, someone picks it up. A hand. Human. Pale. The camera is raised. What follows is impossible. The footage shows someone, or something, walking deeper into the woods, camera on, but not speaking. The angle suggests the figure holding it is tall, shoulders unnaturally straight. The trees bend around the lens, warping as if leaning inward. At hour 9, the sound returns. Children's voices, dozens, overlapping, chanting, a phrase in a language Reyes didn't recognize, rhythmic, hypnotic. At hour 11, a face appears, close to the lens. Not Holt, not anyone known. The face has too many eyes. Then, the final sequence begins. The camera is placed on the ground again. A circle of stones appears in front of it. And into that circle, one by one, fall a wristwatch, a sheriff's badge, a tooth, a small red sneaker, and last, a black leather holster. Empty. At hour 16, just before the file ends, someone speaks into the mic. Clear, calm. It's Holt. But not the way he sounded on duty. His voice is hollow, measured, resigned. "I'm part of it now." Static. Then, "It wants more." End of file. Reyes took the footage to her contact in Portland. He refused to watch it. "It's not just a recording," he said. "It's patterned, like something coded in it. I played it backward, slowed it down. There's embedded sound below the audible range. Synthetic frequencies. That's not natural static." He paused. "Alana, I think it's recording us." She pulled the drive, destroyed it the same night. But it was too late. Because the next morning, a 7-year-old boy named Caleb Turner went missing from a town 2 miles outside Black Pines. No one filed a report. No search parties were launched. The parents refused to speak. And when a local reporter tried to cover it, his article was pulled within an hour. Reyes drove to the town herself. Found the house. Empty. Inside, on the floor of the child's bedroom, was a single item. A cassette tape. No label, no markings. She played it in her car on the drive home. It was 12 seconds of silence. And then, a whisper. "You looked. Now it looks back." It's easy to ignore stories like these. You hear them once, maybe twice. Then they fade, buried under news cycles and distractions. You move on. Life demands it. But Black Pines doesn't forget. In late 2020, nearly 8 years after Officer Raymond Holt vanished, a routine weather report triggered something Reyes hadn't expected. She was driving near the old Mill Road, listening to shortwave radio, a habit she'd picked up from the forums. Nothing strange, just white noise, a low-frequency storm warning. Then it cut, and a voice came through. Clear. Familiar. "This is Officer Holt. I repeat, requesting backup. Location unknown. Do not approach the tree line. Repeat. Do not approach." The transmission ended mid-sentence. Reyes slammed the brakes. The frequency continued to hiss. No repeat, no identifier. She called it in to a contact still working dispatch in Salem. No one else had received the transmission. The logs didn't show it ever happened. 3 days later, a state trooper named Matt Baines, 32, father of 2, went missing while patrolling Route 6. His final dash cam frame showed his car parked. Still running. Headlights aimed at the edge of black pines. The last visible detail? A tall figure standing between the trees. Reyes went back to the footage. All of it. Every copy. Every snippet she'd hoarded. She began charting time codes, cross-referencing weather data, sun positions, radio disturbances. One thread kept appearing, knocking, always in sets of 32, sometimes wood on wood, sometimes too metallic, but the rhythm was consistent. 4 sets of 8, spaced 6 seconds apart. A message? She started hearing it outside her window, sometimes at night. Once, at 3 a.m. sharp, it knocked from her closet door. In early 2021, a video appeared on a small YouTube channel dedicated to abandoned places. A group of teenagers had broken into an old fire watch tower deep inside the forest. They joked, laughed, filmed graffiti. Then, toward the end of the video, one of them froze. "Did you hear that?" The camera shifted. In the far background, almost out of view, was a narrow figure standing just behind a tree. When they left the tower, the video cut suddenly. The channel was deleted 2 days later, but someone mirrored it. And in the final frame, slowed and enhanced, the figure's face was visible for a second. Not a face, a smooth black surface. A mask. Then came the final straw. July 4th, 2021. A Department of Forestry technician was inspecting trail cameras after a brush fire. One of the cams, model-dated, low resolution, had recorded something during the night of the fire. Footage shows a quiet trail. Ash falling, smoke drifting. And then, movement. A police patrol car pulls into frame. No sirens, lights off. It's Holt's car, the same number, same decals, and behind the wheel, someone in uniform. He doesn't get out. He just sits there, still, for 41 minutes. Then the car reverses slowly and disappears back down the trail, a path that had been blocked for years. Reyes viewed the footage herself, cross-checked every angle, every timestamp. It wasn't archival. It wasn't a mistake. It was new. They shut her down the next day. Feds arrived, seized her files, froze her accounts, threatened charges under unauthorized data retention laws. She disappeared a week later. No news reports, no trace, only a voicemail left on her friend's burner phone. 6 seconds long. A breath. Then softly, "Don't come looking." 3 months after that, a weathered patrol car was discovered in a ravine near Black Pines. No damage, no plates, no engine. Inside the trunk were 2 items, a worn cassette tape labeled 9437 and a mask. Homemade, black, featureless. But inside, stitched into the lining, was a strip of uniform fabric, with a name tag, Holt. No bodies were ever recovered. No final answers ever confirmed. But to this day, hikers near Black Pines sometimes report strange things. A child's laugh, a knock, a patrol car idling in the trees. And if you stay too long near the tree line, sometimes the forest knocks back.